This is Tom's World Beer Tour, a podcast story featuring Tom Bowman and Tom Bradley. Now, crack one open and let the tour begin.
Oh my, this is, as you said, you said to me before we got on, that's not a beer in your hand.
This is not a beer. This is a cocktail.
And
this is Tom's World Cocktail Tour today.
We've never started off the show with a cocktail.
Not a cocktail. We've started off with bourbon, I think.
Yeah.
But never a cocktail. No, that's not true. That's not true.
Why?
I've done Kentucky Mules. That's a cocktail.
Was it conversational?
Oh, or was
it the tailgater?
Well, I've had a tailgater mule.
I'll bet you have.
I mean, yesterday was a deer, and then there was a mule before that.
Oh, we're going to get to the deer in a moment. I don't know that I've ever been served a cocktail in a glass like this.
I like that. Now put your glass up there. Yep. Now look at the proportion of your glass versus the proportion of my glass. They knew their customer when they handed them the glassware.
Are you saying that you have more than me?
I have a very tall glass, and you have not as tall glass.
Well, how come we're like Laurel and Hardy? And
I'm just saying the glass equals the person.
I see. I don't know about that. Were you telling me this? You thought this was a feminine-looking drink?
I didn't say that.
You made comments.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sexy bass player is with us also, and he'll probably come on the show a little later. But I think you what did you say? If Deb was here, she'd like that? That's my wife.
I know.
The problem is
I know.
This is called a Boston Sour.
Okay. Fits your personality perfectly. Oh. Get off my lawn.
This thing is...
Could you imagine if you were on your porch and that's what you were drinking? Like, hey, you kids, get off my lawn. And they'd look at you and go, shut up, old man.
But you know what? If you drink a Boston Sour, maybe there's something they don't want to mess with you. I don't know.
How do they know it's a Boston Sour?
Because you tell them, it's a Boston Sour, bitch. Back off. I don't know. It's good. It is sour, but it has a heck of an alcoholic bite there.
I got to say, visually, you kind of look like the Phantom of the Opera right now. It's kind of cool.
Is it because of the light coming in?
There's natural light coming in, and in this venue, we're at a distillery, local distillery called DogMaster.
You say craft. It's a craft distillery?
It's a craft distillery. It's similar to craft beer. You know, it's not on a big, large scale. It's done in smaller production batches. A little bit more control over it. It's not a gigantic conglomerate that owns the joint.
I mean, this is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I do. I mean, look over bourbon. There's whiskey barrels right over my shoulder.
I say wheelhouse. That makes you think of wheels. That makes you think of your car, and then the deer. And I didn't want to bring that up.
Where the deer and the antelope?
Could you hand me one of the menus? We're DogMaster Craft Distillery in the heart of Missouri, and they take their cocktails like the whiskey they distill. They take their cocktails very seriously.
Yeah.
They've got an angry ginger.
That's what I'm drinking, actually.
The Boston Sour, Apricot Blossom, Whiskey Sour, Ginger Moon, Masterita. See, Dogmaster.
A Masterita.
Margarita, Masterita.
Nice.
Boulevardier, Little Italy, Manhattan, and Old Fashioned. And there's more that we'll have to go into here as well. I'm glad we chose to do this. This is fun today to do a little bit of some whiskey. And it's not just whiskey. There are other liquors distilled here, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And we'll have Van come on in a little bit and talk about it. I want to talk about this world of craft spirits and how they're going against the big conglomerates. And, it's similar to craft beer, how, the Sierra Nevadas way, way, way back when sort of started without, there was Budweiser and Coors and all these. And then there was, all of a sudden, it was this craft beer, small batch.
Well, and one of the things that I think is worth bringing up is there are a few things in my life that have happened within 10 years, including the evolution of DogMaster, which all happened before the big bourbon wave started coming on, the whiskey and bourbon wave.
Yeah.
People like me, because you brought me on board that only in the last couple of years.
Yep.
There are millions of people that have gotten into bourbons and whiskeys only in the last 5 to 6 years.
Well, and I think part of it has to do with cocktails, not necessarily drinking bourbon neat or even on the rocks. I think it's cocktails. I think people like to go out to a place where there's somebody behind the bar that makes an interesting cocktail, right? And there's a couple of establishments locally that do that. This is one of them. If we look over your shoulder, that's their bar, and you can see they've got shakers and everything because they're making craft cocktails.
So she brought this glass out, and she said, here we go, and she set it here on our podcast table. She set it down. She had been doing the shaker thing, and she poured it off. And I want to tell you what's in here.
Yeah.
She put bitters on top and used a little twizzle stick. Is that right?
A swizzle stick?
You use your swizzle stick. I'll use my twizzle stick.
Swizzle,
Yes.
Swizzle T, Twizzle D?
Is it?
I think it's swizzle stick, actually.
I'm thinking of licorice, Twizzlers.
Twizzlers, yeah. Exactly.
The Boston Sour aged whiskey, lemon juice, simple syrup, bitters that she poured on top, and an egg white. Now,
Yeah.
one of us is getting extra protein with no cholesterol,
Right.
and one is simply drinking. Now,
Yeah.
which one of us is?
Well, I will tell you, you're getting the egg white, and an egg white is something that is been, I think it goes way, way back, and then it sort of died out, and then it's come back. It's very fashionable to have a cocktail with egg white on top. It's frothy, it's nice. I will tell you, and she might nod her head because she's listening to us, it's a pain in the ass.
Why?
That's a hard drink to make, and if you've got 5, 6, 8 deep at the bar, and someone goes, "Hey, could I get so-and-so, and you know it's got egg white on top," you're like, "God damn it."
Your wife worked a bar. Did you ever work actually behind the bar?
No,
making
I
drinks?
worked on this side of the bar trying to get the bartender. That's
Yeah,
the work
and
I
it
was
worked,
doing.
It worked.
It
But
worked.
she was slinging drinks when you met her.
Yeah, and it's a pain
Okay.
in the ass. So
It wasn't a topless bar, though.
no, it was not. And you
Okay.
need to.
There are
I
people
mean,
that talk
I was
about that.
topless, but I was on the other side of the bar.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is, you have to appreciate the effort that goes into that. Now, right now, we're really the only ones in here, which is great. But you get 5 deep at the bar, you have to appreciate a really good bartender or a mixologist, which is kind of a douchey word, but a really great bartender who's going to take their time to make that for you when
I
there's
agree,
a shit ton
I
of people
agree.
in here.
By the way, we started off early today for a couple of reasons. So while you can catch the podcast or the video
Well, it's
version,
whatever time it is when you're watching.
whenever,
this.
yeah. But we actually are producing a little bit earlier today for a couple of reasons that we
Yeah.
will not go into. But
Right.
before we get to our conversational whiskey,
Yeah.
which I asked, could
did
it please be
pick,
bourbon?
Did you pick it out?
I just said, can it be bourbon?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Before we get there, and
Sure.
bring Van on, the one of the owners of DogMaster, can we talk about what the hell you did this week on your drive to work?
Yeah, we can. Can I do housekeeping real quick?
Yes, please.
All right. So, of course, if you're watching this, you're either watching it on Facebook or you're watching it on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. That way, every time we put up a new video, you're going to get a notification. That's important. If you're on Facebook, it's not enough to like, but please follow our Facebook page. Once again, you'll get notified. And then on Thursday mornings, we release the audio version of this, which, by the way, this is always an audio product. It just happens to have cameras on it.
Right.
We try to do it as an audio product. Anywhere you download your favorite podcast, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Google, all those places, simply go to Tom's World Beer Tour, hit subscribe. It's free, by the way. We don't get anything for that.
Well, I guess you don't. I've been getting.
Well, I've been getting something.
Been getting something.
And anyway, so all of that keeps everything going. And
By the way, if you don't do the things that Tom told you, like following, you said follow, right?
yeah, follow on
Or
Facebook,
subscribing.
subscribe on YouTube.
If you
and
don't do that, we'll
yeah.
kick your ass.
we're gonna
and
send
actually-
we'll send our friend Doug out.
Well, right now the bad roadie's not with us because he's out kicking some people's asses right now.
We send him
'cause
to
they
Kansas
didn't do
City to
it.
kick some ass.
And when he
And by
gets
kick
back,
some ass, we mean go fly a drone and
that's
spy
fine.
on people.
Whatever it takes.
Hey, that's
okay,
pictures.
so you're a kid from California.
Yeah.
Did you growing up, or even in the last few, or even any day now that you talk to people, do people in California hit deer?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, if you go up into the foothills and go camping and things like that, I mean, there are deer.
Yeah.
My dad had a pickup truck, and I think we had the little deer whistle things on there.
Yeah,
that you put on
they don't work.
there. No, clearly not.
No, they do not work.
so
I don't know
I-
why anybody thought that they would.
Right. And I've lived out here for 15 years, so I'm acutely aware of deer and what times of year deer are more prevalent. Riding motorcycles especially.
Yep.
We ride a lot of back roads, a lot of woods, and so I'm constantly thinking about where the deer.
I mean, anytime this time of year, especially when it's pitch black outside, you're going to be scared to be on the road, okay? Because
Yeah.
it could happen. But especially on those late afternoons hitting dusk, you know, because the bucks are getting real frisky out there, and the does are wafting their fumes around like, oh, sorry, did I drop some fumes your way, big boy?
Did I drop some fumes?
And so the bucks are on it, man.
Yeah.
They are really on it.
Oh, they are on it.
And then that goes all the way through until and through dawn.
Right.
You were out driving to work. Was it approximately sunrise?
No, it was 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
It was light. Now, it was a little foggy yesterday. I will say that. It was just a little bit of a fog in the morning.
You weren't foggy, though.
No, I
The
was.
buck could have been foggy.
I don't know. So
The buck was in love.
yeah. So I drive about 35 miles south of here
Uh-huh.
to our office in Jefferson City, Missouri, and I make this drive every day. And the first 9 miles, I'm skirting the edge of the state park.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so-
where it's real
And I'm
bad.
always looking for that.
Yes.
And then I get on Highway 63.
Now, that's the size of most everybody else's
It's a-
rural interstates.
Yeah, it's a 2x2.
It's a 4-lane. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
4-lane.
two lanes south, 2
Massive
lanes,
grassy divide in
yeah,
the middle of the whole
70
thing.
miles an hour. And ironically, just before where this happened, they're down to 1 lane. They're doing a lot of construction.
Uh-huh.
They're putting a lot of concrete down and these run-up lanes and run-off lanes.
So in that area, you're down to what, 40?
I was probably going 35, 40.
Okay.
Pulling along, and then as soon as that opened up, I jumped into the left lane, and I got up to 70.
You hit, yeah, you get up to
And I don't go
70, 75.
I don't go higher than that, and I'll tell
We
you
know
why.
the speed limit's 70. What do you mean you don't go higher than 75?
I don't in that area, and I'll tell you why. Because I have to pass through the city of Ashland, and Ashland police will pop you. And I have been pulled over a couple of times going through Ashland. Thankfully, never got a ticket.
You know, I don't do much speeding, but I'm doing more and more all the time now. I will remember that about Ashland.
Yeah,
Thank
Ashland
you.
cops will pull you over. And I've been pulled over a couple times for 78, things like that.
What
So
we need is more crime in Ashland,
well,
and
yeah.
then they won't be out there.
Well, there was a
pulling
crime
you
yesterday
over.
that was
Okay, so
crazy.
you took it to 70,
So I'm
75.
70, 75, and I'm probably a quarter mile from where the construction was. So there's really not anybody behind me because I think when I moved over to the left lane, I think that the truck I was following was not even getting up to speed fast. So I jump in the left lane and I'm take off.
Right.
And I'm in a 2020 Ford Fusion. It's got a little pickup in it. It's nice. It's a good car. I will tell you this, from a safety standpoint after what happened, I would keep buying Fords.
Okay. All right.
Because that was pretty good. So anyways, I'm probably 100 yards or so from the exit for Ashland, Missouri, a little tiny town. And I'm cruising along, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a buck hauling ass.
Hauling ass.
And it has just gotten to the right lane
So it's coming from your right, so it's coming
from the access road on the side, the woods, whatever, that's along the highway.
There's not a lot of woods there.
There's not, and I don't know where this thing came from exactly, but it is hauling ass. And if you ever, took geometry, I'm looking at the angles, it's not going to end well.
You know it.
Because by the time I see it,
You're like a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Going for that Patrick Mahomes touchdown pass.
Yeah.
You're
He's-
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, they're leading me. They're leading me to that point of contact.
Uh-huh.
And that makes it worse, by the way. We're fine. Doug's trying to block the sun, and now I've just got a Doug shadow on my face, which is not good. I don't want a Doug shadow. So the only thing I can do is I hit the brakes, and I try to at least slow down a little bit. I probably got to about 70 miles an hour, and I struck this thing on
You
the right.
did not swerve.
No.
You did the right thing.
No, you
But
can't
you
at that
had
point.
time. You had time to at least begin braking.
Yeah. Now, I have ABS in my car, so I felt good about that. So
Yeah.
it didn't lock
Pavement
up.
was dry.
Pavement was dry. It didn't lock up.
Were you dry afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a little shaky afterwards.
Now, so it just made it to the right side of the car.
Yeah, it did. And
it damaged the living hell out of the right side of your car.
I'll put this up
Look
to
at
the
that thing.
camera. So there.
Look at-
Oh,
wait, Tim Sparks.
Tim
is calling.
Sparks is
You wanna
calling
take
me.
That?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Tim calls me every Wednesday when we're doing the show.
No, that's good.
Every
That's nice.
freaking Wednesday. All right, so there's you can kind of see.
So
it.
that's what the deer did.
There's that one, and then there's the. I mean, you can,
Look at what the deer did.
it disintegrated.
So
at the front end of
obviously,
my car.
this wild deer, beautiful
Yeah.
buck out there drinking water in the little stream with its little deer lips.
yeah, it picked
and
up
then
the
it came
fumes.
up and it ran off and it got hit and now it's dead right there on the pavement.
Well, no, it's not because it's not there.
What do you mean it's not there?
It was not there.
A good old boy said, "I'll take that."
I hit that thing, and no,
It's gone.
it's gone.
Do you think it flew 50 yards or did it run?
I think what happened was I think I hit its left hip, and I think it bounced out a little, however, whatever. and-
Landed on the ground and then got
kept-
up and
and
ran.
got up and ran, and then died
with that,
somewhere.
With that damage. Did
Yeah.
you see the look in the buck deer's eyes?
Yeah, I mean,
Deer's possessive. I didn't just pluralize the word
Yeah.
deer. Deer is plural already.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
singular. I'm looking for some guidance over here. In the buck deer's apostrophe s eyes.
well,
The
it's
answer is no,
funny.
You didn't
No.
look in his eyes.
Yeah, it's funny because my car has one of those cameras on it that captures things when it happens, and so ironically, that's what I got from my phone.
Oh wow! I didn't. Where the hell did you get that? What is that crap?
Somebody put that on my. But that's exactly what
How
it
many
looked
comments?
like.
How many comments did you have on your posting about it within 12 hours? 175.
150.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. I am so sorry.
It's all right.
And
I have insurance.
I have, as a driver,
Yeah.
never hit a deer. I did hit a
Knock on
a
wood.
hawk on Sunday coming
Yeah.
back from Lexington, Kentucky.
This is the second time a deer has destroyed one of my cars.
Man.
I didn't do the first one. She was driving the first time. I did it this time. But here's the thing. Shelter Insurance is my insurance company. They're phenomenal. $250 deductible, so I'm not worried about that.
Tell me about your adrenaline and your nerves after it happened.
I was really so as soon as it happened, and I've been thinking about it quite a bit. I'm sure I glanced in my mirrors to make sure it was safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure whoever's behind me saw me hit this thing. There was pieces that flew everywhere. I immediately got over to the right shoulder, and I slowed down quite a bit. Realized that I wasn't really dragging anything, and I didn't have any notifications on my dash.
Yeah,
And
engine's still running.
Engine was running, and so at that point, I was right at the exit. And so I just limped my way up the exit. I found an empty parking lot. I pulled in the empty parking lot. I had the wherewithal of parking my car in such a way that a tow truck could get a flatbed could get it.
Man, let me tell you something.
And I was.
Do you know
I was
how
like
many?
this.
I'm sure you were. You know how many people they hit something like that, they immediately pull over, if even pulling over, and they're like, "Oh, that's it. I'll just be right here until everything's taken care of." It's like, get your ass off the road.
Yeah, I didn't want to be on the highway.
No.
And
Not
once
at
again,
all.
this is a 2-lane road. Had I swerved to the left, I would have been in the guardrail.
Yeah.
If I had gone to the right, I probably would have been okay, but I don't know if there's anybody there at the split second. And the deer's coming from the right, so I don't want to go to the right because I'm aiming for the deer.
You don't do it. I mean, under most circumstances, you don't do it. Now, going slower and a deer's doing whatever, and you think you can swerve, maybe. The problem is you don't know what the deer's going to think. And and they can jump 30 feet.
Yeah.
They can jump over a car and land 30 feet on
And
the
this
other
guy
side.
was trucking.
Yeah.
He was trucking. They're fast. And so a couple good luck things. One, he hit the right corner of my car. I didn't have a passenger, which means the passenger airbag was off. It did not set off the airbag. It did not set
Because
off
it
my
may have.
airbag.
It may have.
I think it might have.
Yeah.
Had I been a split second later, I might have just hit him straight on, and then my airbag would have
You
gone
didn't
off.
have a fresh, like, 195 McDonald's coffee
No, I had
in your
no.
just put this. I'm busy. Let me just set this right here in my crotch for a second.
Yeah, no.
And you hit, and you're
No.
not. And, you
And I
got
love to
warm
drive.
nuts.
You know me, man. I enjoy
know.
driving. I make that drive every day. I'm just thankful that there's a
I'm glad
lot
you
of
didn't
things
get
that
hurt,
could have
man.
gone horribly wrong. You look at the damage on my car and you think, oh, my God. Now, what happened was I definitely tensed up, it braced the steering wheel.
So you felt that.
Yeah, I'm sore.
You're sore
I'm
from that
sore.
damn. The buck is more sore, though. I mean, we
Yeah,
gotta understand.
well, not anymore.
He's
not.
he's talking to his friends right now. He's like, my ass right here.
I'm going to say that
Right here.
that buck ain't talking to anybody right now. If that thing lived, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
It took a 70-mile-an-hour direct hit, and it
This is
demolished
why.
the corner of my
This
car.
is why when a deer hunter goes out and generally speaking with a gun, if they fire off a shot, and they think it's pretty much a kill shot, and they hit that deer, but it doesn't drop immediately, you don't do anything. You're in a blind. You're up in a stand.
Yeah.
You wait.
Sure.
Because the deer will be like, I don't know what that was.
Exactly.
Sometimes they can take off running, but a lot of times they'll just be like, wow, and then they stagger around a little bit, and maybe they'll just walk and drop 50 yards away. But if they see you coming after them, jumping like, woohoo, yahoo, I got a deer, they'll take off, and they will run 5 miles
Yeah.
and then drop.
And then you got to go track it.
And you're not going to be able to find that thing.
Well, the
running
crazy
like
thing
that.
is, I know the guys that sit in deer stands for days
Yeah,
to get. So each point, each little horn's a point, right?
that's, yes.
I'm guessing this was a 4-point buck.
So there were 2 points on each side.
Two on each side.
So it's just a couple of years old.
Yeah,
Really?
but a pretty big size. Now the other fear I had was, you
That
think
he has friends.
that he has
and
friends
they're
that are
all coming
hunting me,
back.
is that he was taller and I would have hit him and he would have come back onto the hood of my car.
Well, and
and
actually,
into my windshield.
Actually, it can happen. They will smash the windshield, and you can actually wind up with their head coming in and being like, then you're going to see, and you're going to look that deer eye to eye.
Yeah. So anyways,
If you get a chance, you can tell Van that we're ready for him whenever he
Yeah.
gets a chance. Thank you, sexy bass player.
so at the end of the day, it worked out fine.
I just can't believe the amount of damage it did.
Yeah,
and was not laying on the pavement. Because
No.
we see deer right on the side of the shoulder all year long, and
Oh, yeah.
especially this time of the
whole
year.
deer, whole gigantic deer.
They're just laying there dead.
Yeah.
You hit a big one, as much damage was done, and it's not laying on the side of the road.
No, and it just completely demolished.
If
I
it
mean,
was laying there, would you have
no,
not just an antler or two?
no,
Maybe a back
no,
strap
dude,
or
I was
two?
going 70 miles an hour.
The
Like,
conservation department,
No.
all you do is notify them.
no,
I got a lot of damage here. I got a dead deer. Do you
No.
mind if I field dress it at this time? And they'll say that's not a problem.
I don't know how to put clothes on a deer. I don't know what they wear. I don't know what this field
It doesn't
dressing
work
is.
like
you're
it doesn't
talking
work like
about. Here, I'll
clothes.
show Van the. This is what we're talking about. This was me yesterday.
He's going to have that thing.
I hit a deer going 70
and-
miles an hour on 63 yesterday.
Wait a
Well,
second.
hold on,
Wait
hold
a
on.
second. We don't have. I don't know why you just did that.
I don't know because I'm still delirious.
You're still delirious, shaken up by that deer. I want to bring on a little bit of our groove factor here.
There
It's
you
our
go.
it's our conversational tunage.
There you go.
And now I will bring up that microphone for Van Hawksby.
Yeah.
The head honcho here at our distillery. We're
That's right.
enjoying ourselves. DogMaster Distillery in the heart of America. What were you going to say, Van?
Well, I just saw the picture of the damage on his car. I was going to talk about the deer that I hit about 3 months ago, coming
Oh,
back
shit.
from Cooper's Landing. I bumped a deer at 20 miles an hour. He turned around and looked at me and just ran off.
Is that all you got?
And a $1,500 damage bill to
Serious?
my vehicle.
I'm
Yeah.
going to say mine's not
Just-
$1,500.
You maybe a touch more. That looks total to me.
Here's what I'll tell you:
okay.
when you're going to go get insurance,
Uh-huh.
listen. Make sure you have good insurance. Make sure you have good collision. The good news is about this whole thing is that at the end of the day, it's costing me personally $250.
Well, in addition to being a good driver and paying all those premiums all these years.
That's right. So
And
for
that's the way that it
$250,
works.
I'm either going to get my beautiful car back, or it's going to be totaled, and I'm going to go buy a Ford F-150 pickup, and the next deer is not going to be as lucky.
Well, no, I mean, you're still going to get damage,
I know, but
but
still.
it might feel better.
Yeah, we'll see.
And you'll have room in the back that you can throw the deer in.
There you go.
And then
And I'll give it to you guys.
And then I'll help you field dress that thing. We're going to need some conversational whiskey, and I think we're going for bourbon, but it's up to you, Van, what we're going to
We
drink.
do, yeah.
What do you want us all to drink? We'll drink the same thing.
Let's have just 3 bourbons neat.
Okay, we'll make it 4.
Make 4 bourbons neat.
4 bourbons neat.
Four
Hey, Doug.
bourbons neat.
4 bourbons neat, please.
He's gonna do that job for
He
us.
owes us for last week because he didn't show up to the podcast
I know.
last week. We went and got special candy.
A damn Three Musketeers bar for him on purpose.
It's still in the freezer
And
in
he
my
didn't-
house. by
I
the
know.
way.
I know.
should have brought it
He
today and
didn't do
threw
it.
it at him.
Your wonderful bartender's name today.
That's Jordan.
So
Jordan.
Has Jordan been here for a while?
Jordan has been here for maybe 5 years.
Okay, she's
So
served me before.
yeah,
I like her
she's been here.
serious attitude.
She's a doll, man. Yeah,
You had
she's
some tables
amazing.
in here that are now outside. It's a beautiful afternoon, by the way.
Yeah.
She took a couple of picnic tables outside. Does she always not ask for help when carrying anything?
Don't just get out of her way.
Get out of her way.
Yeah.
Just get
It
out of her
appeared
way.
that way.
She was a hard ass, but she made me a very
makes a
delicate,
great
dainty
cocktail.
drink. This is a Boston Sour.
Yes.
Tell me
Yeah.
about this drink.
So it's a just a we call it a liquor forward, as all of our drinks are.
Sorry.
we're
I'm always 14 years old.
Yeah.
we're heavy handed here.
Okay, it took me a
And
minute. Thank you.
It's just an old classic cocktail that is bourbon based with a little bit of citrus and just tart.
The first drink I took, I go, oh, this is a cocktail.
Oh, yeah, it
I don't
is.
want it to taste like Kool-Aid. I know some people like that. I want to know that I'm drinking an alcoholic beverage, and
Yeah.
this is like, here,
It's a
sir.
grown-up drink is what this is.
Yeah,
It's a grown-up drink.
Exactly. Yes.
good stuff.
Well, thanks, Tom.
Did-
Thanks.
so
So this is liquor forward. You're usually liquor behind.
you had
Right?
to
Is
do
that
it.
how that works?
You had to do
Yeah,
it.
well,
But
it was that.
you are 14.
I am.
All the
I
way
am.
through.
For the rest of my life.
There are so many questions we have for you.
Oh yeah.
And I know I'm going to get in a couple before we really get a big gender over here. Tom Bowman, he knows distilleries. He knows the industry. He knows whiskeys. He knows bourbons. And I know I'm going to wind up over doing nothing. I want to talk to you as a business owner, having nothing to do with what you do for a business. How you feeling? How was the pandemic? How the hell are you doing?
We're doing well. You know, we were actually one of the lucky ones. And I know you didn't want to talk about my business, but one of the things that I'm able to do with my business is to handle high-proof alcohol. That my distilled spirits permit allows me to do that. And what is hand sanitizer made out of? High-proof
That's right.
alcohol.
Yeah.
So being one of the few people in the country who's able to do that, or in the state to do that, I was able to take advantage of that. So that was really a blessing in disguise for us. It helped us keep our lights on. We could keep our staff employed. We could pay our rent. It was good for us and create a lot of goodwill within the community as well.
One of the things we talked about with breweries was the whole thing about we do so much keg business, or there's an aluminum shortage, I can't get my hands on it right now. You didn't have either one of those two issues going on at all, is that right?
Oh, no, I've got that going on right now. During the hand sanitizer thing, I was trying to find containers, and I felt like I was, Klinger from MASH trying to, find things and be creative as the clerk, and had to just be really creative, find containers, and now finding bottles.
We have a glass problem now.
We have a glass problem right now. The glass that I'm using right now is not the glass that I typically use, and it's unfortunate. My packaging is not what I want it to be right now.
These are the headaches that we know are going to come around sooner or later. You can't plan on that. All you can plan on is having the right attitude to march forward.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I had to tell both of you to hush earlier because before we got started with the podcast, you started talking. And I'm like, stop it. Tom Bowman, would you like to ask a question and now not be told to stop? Go right ahead.
Sure. Well, listen, when it comes to the world of whiskey, most people go into their local store and they see the typical, right? They see the Buffalo Traces of the world and the Elijah Craigs and these big brand names, which are owned by huge conglomerates. What's different here, and Van will probably attest to this, is that this is craft cocktail or craft distilling. This is not a big corporation, and you're trying to get shelf space along with Buffalo Trace and Elijah Craig and all these other things. So it's the big boys versus the craft guys at this point, right?
It is, yes. Yeah, and quite honestly, it's kind of the struggle that the craft beer went through 20, 30 years ago, and they're trying to prove to the general public that you could, on a small batch basis, put out a product on par with, if not maybe a little bit more interesting than what people have settled for in the past. And what has happened in the craft beer industry? Well, they have whittled away at the large manufacturers, and now craft beer is about 15 to 16% of the beer sold in the country right now. Craft whiskey or craft spirits, we're not near that right now, but we're still trying to prove ourselves.
And in your mind, when you came into this, was it to take those guys on, or was it really just to find a niche in a market like this? Is it a statewide goal for you? Is it Midwest goal for you? What is ultimately the goal for you?
Sure. It's regional. I'll tell you that, honestly. Missouri and maybe bordering states, we realize that we're not going to go viral. We're not going to be the next biggest thing in whiskey. Now, with that being said, let's talk in a year from now.
Yeah.
But, I just wanted to be a regional thing. And when my wife and I were putting our business plan together, we wanted to be – our goal is to be the face of craft distilling in Missouri. So that's me and my beautiful wife. So
more of the beautiful wife.
Yeah,
that
her,
is
I mean, her face I like.
Yeah, her face.
Exactly,
yeah.
yes.
Go back for a second. What did you mean about a year from now? What do you mean?
We're working on some things.
So I was going to ask you, or bring up a huge difference from what you're doing, and when we talk about the craft beer industry, you can make a vat full of beer in about 3.5 weeks.
Correct, yes.
How long does it take to make a good aged whiskey?
A good aged whiskey, well, that's going to be a very subjective thing because different people have different perception of what they feel a good aged whiskey should be. I can put out a solid aged whiskey in 2.5 years.
2 to 2.5 years.
So now, it's that 3 weeks process of mashing and fermenting like the brewers do, and a little conditioning. But I have to sit mine in barrels now for 2+ years before it's ready. So I've got a lot of time invested and a lot of expensive product just sitting there waiting for
the barrels that are
time
behind
to come out.
Tom Bowman, are these these barrels are full?
That is correct, yes. Yeah.
When were the first barrels that you filled? How long ago were the very first barrels that you did as you started this?
Sure. So if those people watching and listening, if they can look behind the bar, our very first barrel is the one sitting on top of the bar up there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That is barrel number 1. That is part of the DogMaster Museum. And we filled that about it took me a little while to perfect my whiskey recipe, the grain bill, and putting it together. And, long story short, it was about 9 months into being open that we filled our first barrel.
Okay.
Wow.
And that was how long ago?
That would have been, spring of 2015.
Okay, so 2015, you put the stuff in the barrel, but really that barrel wasn't ready till early 17?
That is correct, yes.
And so
Yeah.
between that time, were you focusing on other spirits at that point?
Clear products.
So
Yeah.
vodka.
Clear.
Vodka.
Yeah, so you can go.
Grain alcohol, the stuff we used to drink as
Yeah,
kids.
you know
sure.
it, yeah.
So with the
Hand
with-
sanitizer.
with the clear products, you can go grain to bottle in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you do the distillation, you got a little bit of processing, and then you can go to the bottle within about 3 weeks.
That's why Russia is so big with vodka. They have no patience. It's the problem. Can we get started on this?
Yeah, let's talk
Sure.
about
Can
this.
we? Can we? You can introduce it, but I also want
Yeah.
to. I also want to take a sip. So here's
Yeah.
to let's toast
Cheers,
this
guys.
up.
You bet.
Cheers.
Here's to you,
Cheers.
and here's
Cheers.
to good things and waiting for good things.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
delightful.
Patience.
Exactly.
Here's the patience.
Exactly.
Dude, it has the aroma that I love. Of that bourbon aroma coming out of there,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Just the
Right.
the corn on the nose. So this is a 4-grain whiskey. This is a blend of corn, oats, wheat, and malted barley.
Okay.
So it's 60% corn. So it hits the 51% threshold that it needs to qualify for bourbon.
Bourbon, right?
It has 10% oats, 10% wheat, and 20% malted barley.
Okay.
The-
So rather than rye, which a lot of guys will, you did the oats instead of the rye.
Well, yes, and what I find with the oats is that kind of adds a little lingering mouthfeel with the product.
Right.
And yeah, although it's not a rye whiskey or a rye bourbon, excuse me, I find that it's a little peppery, like a lot of rye whiskeys.
Yeah.
And the reason why, or what I attribute that to, is we use a lighter toast and char on a barrel. It's not a heavy toast and a heavy char.
Right.
It's a medium toast, medium char. For those that know, it's a number 3.
Okay.
It's not scaly. It's not quite an alligator at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds like you know. Exactly. So you don't have as much wood sugars cooked into the staves.
Right.
So they don't get leached back into the product. Now, if you were to have my whiskey, the whiskey we use a heavier toast and char, and you got more wood sugars cooked into the staves, so you get more of that gets leached back into the distillate that's in the barrels,
Right.
leaving a softer, sweeter, a little more gentler product.
And
That has got to be the best description of what the hell happens inside a barrel that I have ever heard. And you did it in like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Well, people have to realize that wood, and so like in your house, if you've got crown molding in your house and you live out in the Midwest, there are times of the year where the gaps are opened a little bit and times of the year when the gaps are closed.
Yeah.
Well, the barrels do the exact same thing. There are times when the barrels open up a little bit, the grain opens up, and the whiskey goes into the wood, right? And it imparts that flavor and that color that way. And then in the hot temperatures, it's different than in the cold temperatures. And somebody in the know, like Van, knows, hey, in this particular area, I'm going to put these barrels here because they're going to produce a different type of character than if I put them down here where it's cooler. I mean, that's the
but
art.
now, like the sun that's coming through this, you got a beautiful garage door over
Right,
here. It's
yeah.
all glass
Wait,
panes.
there's sun coming in?
Yeah, did you notice that? The sun that's coming in is going to affect certain barrels in there and not others.
I'd say potentially, and here, I'm just a small guy.
Uh-huh.
The large manufacturers, they really have this figured out, and they realize if they have a 7-story rickhouse with 2 million barrels in there, there's going to be a section like the 5th and 6th floor on the east side, 4 barrels in. These are our honey hole barrels just because of the way that the temperature is, the temperature changes,
Right.
the way the wind flow, the wind may blow through the rick houses. I mean, there's a real science to that now that maybe 15, 20 years ago we didn't have.
Right.
And
Well, and the guys that did it well, the Freddie Knows of the world, these great distillers, it was a feel thing. They just knew over time,
Right.
hey, when we pull barrels from this area, there is a distinct difference between a barrel that comes from this area.
It's a little bit like what we do with smokers.
Yeah.
We've
Same
got
thing.
hotter spots and we have smokier
True,
spots.
yeah.
And so
Right.
if you work
Yeah.
like some of the ones that we've had, Doug, when you got like 16 pork butts in there at one time, you know where the best pork butts are going to come out of there.
Yeah.
And so you actually do have to go move
Well,
them
if
around.
I'm going to do a really expensive brisket, I know exactly where in my smoker that sucker's going to go.
Right.
Exactly. It doesn't go here. It doesn't go here. It goes here, and that's all there is to it.
How much liquid, I don't know how you measure it, how much liquid is in a barrel?
So if you're looking at just gallons, these are 53-gallon barrels. Now, if you're talking about proof gallons.
No, I just wanted to know the size like that, and then
Yes.
how many mashings? Is that what it's called?
Sure, yeah.
Does it take to fill? How many barrels do you get out of a single mashing or a single?
We get
batch?
almost 2/3 of a barrel. Now, that's just with the equipment that we have here.
I see.
And the size of equipment that we have here. So we get roughly 2/3 of a barrel for each
Then
run.
it's a lot of work
Yeah.
sitting right there.
There's a little bit of
Now,
work
are
there.
you? I guess, and
Yeah.
I've never gone in the back. Are you using a copper pot still? How are you doing?
Sure. Yeah. No. The still that we have, it is what people would consider a Bain Marie still.
Okay.
So it is a jacketed still. There is a liquid inside this jacket. It is a polyethylene glycol, so much like an antifreeze.
Yep.
It's a coolant.
Well, coolant, or you can also heat it up to a high temperature safely.
Gotcha.
Without it becoming a pressurized system. So if we used water, we would pump it up to 250 degrees.
Right.
Now you've got a pressurized system, but with a polyethylene glycol, it'll handle higher heats. So it's a safe system for us as well. So it's a boiler system with a polyethylene glycol, and just circulates the coolant or the heating liquid around the pot still through the jacket,
Yep.
and that's what heats up everything inside there.
Wow.
And it's not copper. It has copper inside the still, not on the
Gotcha.
outside. So from a cost effectiveness standpoint, when we looked at buying our equipment, this is what we settled on.
Sure. No, I get it.
Outside, you got spent grain sitting outside. Am I calling it the right thing?
You are correct. Yes.
Spent grain.
I have a farmer coming in tomorrow to pick those up.
And feeds it to
His cattle,
her
yes.
cattle.
Yeah, to the
And
cattle.
then you want to find that cattle
I'm telling
because
you.
those are the steaks you want.
No kidding. Seriously?
So I have an older brother. We'll give a shout out to my older brother Dennis.
All right. Hello,
who-
Dennis.
Yeah, who he would come up and pick up some spent grains. He has a little hobby farm down near Versailles, and he was raising his cows on my spent grains or finishing them on the spent grains.
Right.
I have some of the most amazing steaks in my freezer right now.
Oh, man,
yeah,
you talk
yeah.
about what comes around, what goes
Yeah.
around comes around.
Think about the time when you.
that's your steak coming
Yeah.
back to you.
But
because
it
you
is,
fed
oh,
it
yeah.
with
But
this.
Think
Exactly,
about guys that take a steak and they make up a fancy rub or they try to inject a little bit. This is done way better.
Yeah.
You're going
Yeah.
internal.
I
with
wouldn't
this.
mind you
That is
including
true.
some cracked black pepper and some garlic salt in the spent grains.
Uh-huh.
I want pre-seasoned and flavored
Pre-seasoned.
steak all the way. No, it's pretty cool. If I took a spoon and took a bite of that thing, what would it taste like to me?
It's going to be sweet.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, because there's still some residual sugars. What we're doing is when we talk about cooking the grains, we're just adding water and heat. And what that does is that converts the starches in the grains into fermentable sugars. And then when you add yeast, you can convert the sugars into ethyl alcohol. Well, the grains are still going to have some of that residual sugar on the grains, so it's going to be like a granola bar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of sweet like a granola bar.
I'm going to make one.
The
Yeah.
tasty granola bar.
This is how it was described to me years ago in beer brewing. It would be the same thing here. When you have the sugar and the yeast yeast eats the sugar and farts out the gas, which is
Ethyl alcohol.
the alcohol.
Correct. Yeah, and the sad thing about yeast and its lifespan is basically it's creating ethyl alcohol as its waste, and
Which kills
it
itself.
dies in its own waste.
Which is what humans do.
Sounds like a
Right.
miserable existence, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it really
Dude,
does.
this is the greatest aged fart juice I've ever had.
So here's
It's
the yeast
amazing.
and what yeast does for us. You know,
Yeah, no, I love that.
wine, beer, and booze. That's what yeast does for us.
Absolutely. So,
This is really good, Van.
all right. So usually, you're 2.5. Are there any barrels that you've decided? You know what? I'm going to let these go a little longer. I'm going to go to 5. Or I'm going to go to
We have some sitting back.
because
yes,
I know
right
in
now.
my personal taste, some of the best bourbons I've ever had are in that 7 to 9 year in
Really?
the barrel.
Right.
7 to 9 to me, you get the right amount of sweetness out of a bourbon, and especially if it's more of a weeded, or it's going to be a little sweeter. But that 7, 8, 9 year, there's guys that have the Pappy 20 and 23. It's really oaky. It's really because these are white oak barrels, right?
I would agree with you.
So the longer it's
can
in, you
be-
might get
can
more-
be overaged and overoaked.
Absolutely.
You might get more
yes.
oak, and that might not be your group.
Well, not
thing.
only over oaked, and Van knows this, is that you lose a certain percentage of the actual liquid
do,
per
yeah.
year. It's about 5 to 7%.
About 5% each year is
and
what
that's
you're
the
losing.
angel tax,
That-
right?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
And so think about 23 years in the barrel. You go and open up that barrel, 23 years. You had a child after you barreled that, and now that kid is graduating college, and now you get to open that barrel.
Or you open it up, and he's just at a frat, and he's hanging out.
And you open
like,
up inside that
crap.
barrel, and there's sometimes nothing.
Half the liquid.
At least, right?
Yeah,
if not even more.
Half, exactly.
You see that. You see
if
it
you
yourself.
wait that long.
Yeah, if you wait that long.
Yeah.
I'm losing about 5% a year.
I've wondered about this specifically for you, to you for a while now. Do you steal one of these things, take it home, and go, "This is my bitch, and nobody knows I've got this in my basement"? Or
no, I do not. The Tax and Trade Bureau that I answer to. I know. You know what? I am squeaky clean.
No, but if you were to do that, it would be breaking a rule.
I would be, yeah. Because I have my bonded area, and I do not have a bonded area at home. So this is where all my pre-tax liquor is. That's behind this fence.
If you took it out of here and took it home, you've just broken the law. It's like you're sneaking whiskey away.
What I would have to do is I would have to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
So I could remove it out of bond, report it as taxed,
and then take it home.
But I should not do that in a barrel. It should go out of bond in a bottle.
And you sell bottles here.
We do, correct.
Which is interesting because if you go to Louisville, right, you go to Buffalo Trace or someplace, you don't get a great deal at the distillery usually because you get taxed going into the barrel, you get taxed coming out of the barrel.
Correct.
And you have to buy it back. Now, I don't know if Missouri's the same way, but in Kentucky, you have to buy it back from a distributor.
Yeah.
So it's usually not a great deal.
While we talk about buying, I've purchased bottles of your product at the liquor store.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's not cheap. It's not the expensive either. I mean, it's how do you phrase?
I find DogMaster to be a great everyday bourbon. Great everyday whiskey.
So the other stuff that I see that's like $12 for a bottle.
No, that's an everyday too, but that's somebody who's wants some every single day.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
Your pricing is somewhere around what? Like on retail is about a $40 mark?
The bourbon and the whiskey around the $40 mark.
$40 mark.
That is
How
correct,
do you
yes.
describe where that is on the scale?
It's right in the middle. You have a lot of whiskeys right now that are, 120, 180.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these allocated bottles, the scarce bottles.
Well, that's a whole other ridiculous category.
Yeah, exactly. You get a lot of those, and I understand that the general public, they're not going to buy my products at that price point. So I've got to price it where the general public can where it's palatable to the general public.
Yeah.
So you're looking at both the expense, what your business plan is, and what you think
correct
the public's going to be able to float with.
I push it as far as I can.
When I looked at the $40 bottle of DogMaster bourbon, I was like, that sounds good to me. It was okay with me. I liked it.
Yeah.
It worked. But I did notice that there are a lot of cheaper ones out there.
Oh, there are, yeah.
There are.
I wouldn't say they're not on the craft side, though.
Yes.
Right.
A lot of most of the craft guys are right where I'm at.
And then I see others that go $60 and $80.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then I wonder, well, Van, why don't you just take it to about $63.95?
Well, once again, it's what will the market bear? So if you're a guy like me, I'm his customer, right? I'm buying bottles on a regular basis. $30 to $50 right now is my sweet spot for bottles.
Mm-hmm.
I like to find a bottle that's in that price range
that you like.
That I like because that bottle's going to last me, a couple months probably. I got a lot of bottles.
Yeah.
But that 30 to 50 to me is one, it's value, right? And if it's a really good buy at that price point, I'm going to go for it. What ends up happening is we all fall in love with it, or it goes to San Francisco and it wins 5 gold medals, and now all of a sudden Van's $40 bottle is now $80.
It's worth a lot more
because everybody's talking about it, which is great. And then guys, they go and they grab it all up and they turn around and flip it for more money.
Will you enter some of these competitions? Do you enter them?
I have, yeah. And my products, they typically rate in the high 80s, which is a solid silver medal in most of the competitions.
And 80 is a rating?
Yeah, well, yeah, like they have silver, gold, bronze, like the Olympics.
Okay, all right.
So if it rates at 90 or above, then it gets a gold medal at 95 or above, a double gold. Silver and silver is in the 80s, a bronze is in the 70s. And the majority of the competitions that I enter, my products typically rate in the 85 to 90 range.
That's really good.
So it is.
phenomenal.
It really is for a 2-year-old product. Now, with that being said, let's talk about gin. So I entered a bottle of my gin in a competition, an outfit called the USA Spirits Ratings, and they came back with a gold listing for the product, and they listed it as one of the top 10 gins in 2020 to try.
That's perfect.
Really?
So our gin is getting some national recognition. I'm really pleased with that. Now,
I like gin in the wintertime. I don't know that everybody does.
It's
I
the
like
juniper.
gin.
I like it in the
It's the
summertime.
juniper.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, it's a bright spirit
that
for
like
me.
that mint,
Yeah.
what is it, mint julep thing going on or whatever it is?
Oh no, just a gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic.
You know, just a gin and tonic.
But how do you use Missouri grown juniper? What do you do?
We do. Yeah.
Do you really?
We found a source, and then there's 11 other botanicals in there that we source as many as locally as we can. But you know, a lot of these they just don't grow.
Did
in
you put weed in there?
Missouri.
Be honest with me. There's weed in that thing.
There's no
You
weed.
cannot do
There's
that.
no weed in the. I don't know why you. couldn't-
420 gin. It's the most
Yeah,
amazing
yeah,
thing in the
that's-
world.
You know, and I don't know what the. I would imagine the FDA would have something to say about that.
Sure.
If you were to do that, there are though some cannabis, not with CBD, not the THC, but the
Yeah.
CBD.
Yeah.
There are some CBD infused whiskeys on the market.
Yeah.
So apparently you can use that.
No,
But you can't use the
listen,
THC.
if I want the THC, I go
Yeah.
get a gummy. If I want
Go
whiskey,
straight
I
to
go
the
get a
source.
bottle of whiskey. And sometimes I put the two together.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying they pair well
You
together.
know, I might know a
saying.
guy.
You got a big old
I-
fat one, and you got
I
this
got a
thing
guy.
going on.
Right.
So-
I know a guy.
You know,
Hey, wait a second. Time. Are we under a time crunch for you?
I think we got like 2 minutes left with him.
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I want to make sure
I'm
we're not
good.
keeping you too long.
So
No.
so this particular video is going to go over to the Missouri Bourbon Finder Facebook page that I started with Tyson.
Yes.
About 4,000 people over there. So this video is going there. So the big question I have, and
Okay.
a lot of these people are going to be interested in, is
Right.
what's the ultimate goal for DogMaster? Where do you
Good
see
question.
yourself?
Good question.
Are you going to stay in this nice craft world? Are you going to try to do maybe some 5, 7, 8, 9 year age?
We are, yes. And we have some plans. I mean, if you look behind yourself in our production area, it's really very small right now. So we're trying to put together a plan to grow the business, have a dedicated production facility, and that's something that we're working on right now. So we've got plans in front of an architect to build to design a building for us, completely different distilling equipment.
Sure.
You know, bigger and better. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
And then yes, there will be products that are out there a lot longer. I just can't make enough product right now with the equipment that I have
Right.
to really set stuff out and plan 7-8 years out right now.
Yeah, I mean, you go to some of these smaller distilleries. Like Rabbit Hole is not a huge distillery, right, in Louisville.
Right.
But, I mean, you're talking about huge production, even for not being one of the big boys.
Right.
That's a huge production.
I have not been there. I'm very familiar with Rabbit
Yeah,
Hole, and
yeah.
they've not been around very long.
No,
I-
then they got bought by a big foreign conglomerate
I've
like
been
about
around.
a year and a half ago.
I've been around longer than they have.
Yeah.
But someone came in to the right place, the right time, with a lot of money,
Yep.
and built something rather interesting that somebody else wanted,
Yeah.
and somebody else bought it. So probably the Brown and Foreman or the Suntory. You know, again,
It was a foreign conglomerate.
But if you expand the size of your equipment, you're
Yes.
also going to have to expand the size of your storage
correct.
and aging facility. So
Correct.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you move off premises, I don't want to know exactly where it is. I'm not trying to stalk it out.
I want to know.
But if you move off premises,
We'll talk when we get off my
That's right.
how do you protect it? I mean, these places, these distilleries that have 7-story high.
They have security, huge security.
It doesn't
Oh, yeah.
look like security. It looks like an
I
old
know,
rundown
but trust
barn.
me, you can't
Well-
walk into one of those joints and not get taken down.
So this is Missouri, so I'm thinking rabid pit bulls.
yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
You
All
know,
right.
something appropriate for Missouri.
Yeah.
No, there are ways to do that. You know,
Yeah.
with fencing, there are things that you can do.
But you would, because you will have to take it off site, obviously,
oh
correct?
yes, yeah, I would not be able to do this.
For those who don't know, you're
Downtown
in the
Columbia.
downtown area of Columbia, Missouri.
that is correct. Yes.
Very cool place for a distillery. But eventually, when you need more size, you're going to have to do
Well,
something.
it's a great place for a tasting room for sure.
Yes.
But if you're going to go out and store in rick houses and you're going to go 5, 7, 9 years, yeah, this is not where you want to do
and if
that.
you start storing, let's say, 1,000 barrels at a time, more than that,
I
you're
like
Oh
it.
yeah. We've got some big
10?
plans. We've got some big plans.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, we
All
have some big
I
plans.
mean, do you need night security out there? Because I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
I've been looking for some.
I was thinking more of,
part-time
do you need
hours.
somebody
I
to
need,
do
I need
the
someone to watch
tasting?
you is what I need.
Come grab me. I'll
Someone
do.
to watch you.
Maybe.
I'll do a little
true.
barrel tasting. So, do you find? So, obviously, the majority of the whiskey in the world right now, well, it's an American product, obviously, is coming out of Louisville, Kentucky, and all of that.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with bourbon,
and
especially
whiskey, yes.
because of limestone water, right?
Correct. Yes.
It's why upstate New York is also a great place for bourbons because of limestone water. It's also what
Okay.
makes bagels and pizza taste great inside of New York at limestone water. What's the characteristic of Missouri, whether it's weather or water, that's going to kind of compete?
So here's what we have going on in Missouri. We have that same limestone water that they have in Kentucky. That whole limestone shelf.
Right.
You know, it's Kentucky, Tennessee,
And nobody ever
Arkansas,
talks about it.
Missouri. No, we don't talk about that. We let Kentucky talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the water. It's the water. Well, you know what? Water makes bagels, like
Yeah.
they know in New York.
Correct.
Hey, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Water makes bagels. You know what makes whiskey? It's grains
Yep.
and it's barrels.
Yep.
And we are a grain state. We
Correct.
grow our own corn. We're not one of the major corn growing states, but we are a corn state.
Well, and we also provide half of the white oak that goes to Kentucky,
if not half more.
probably a little bit
More.
more.
Right,
And the
yeah.
world's largest barrel manufacturer is based here in Missouri.
They are.
Interestingly enough, they keep offices a block away from my distillery. So some of the folks that are running the world's largest barrel manufacturer are just a block away from me.
And why hasn't it happened till now? Why has Kentucky gotten all the glory until now? We've got Missouri starting to step up a little bit.
Well, it's not just Missouri. It's the craft.
Yeah.
I think it's the craft movement that's really driving this right now. You've got a lot of people doing this, and a lot of people, I wouldn't say that they're calling out Kentucky, but they're proving that, again, people can do this on a local, small batch basis, put out a product on par with, if not maybe a little bit more interesting than what people have settled for in the past. You know, my grain bill. I don't know anybody who's using my grain bill.
No. I mean, a typical grain bill is going to be corn,
Right.
it's going to be rye, and it's going to be barley.
And the
it's
grain
good.
bill specifically will give you the percentages of each,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
And
So
if you want a sweeter, like Pappy, of course, is the
It's a-
opposite.
it's a-
It's corn and wheat.
it's a weeded
and
bourbon,
barley.
right?
Correct.
As is Maker's Mark.
And when we hear 4 grain, we think about it's got both. It's both rye and wheat. But you're using
Correct.
oat, which is
I'm using oats, which
Yeah.
again gives you this nice mouthfeel
Right.
to your product.
As soon as
which
you
that's
said
what
it, too, I was like,
learned.
I think I know what you're talking about. I feel
Yeah.
like when you talk about the percentages, is that measured by weight or volume? I don't understand.
It is weight.
It's weight.
Yeah, it is weight. Yes.
Okay. All right. I find it amazing. So that bill, while you could hand it to somebody,
Right.
do you keep it to yourself, the exact percentage?
Oh no, I'm wide open with it. Again,
You would say it to somebody.
Oh yeah, I say
It
to
doesn't mean
people in
somebody
the
can go and
industry-
do it, though. I mean, there's
Right,
more than just
exactly.
the mash bill.
I understand.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think what people who know bourbon understand this, but those that don't, bourbon doesn't have to be made in Kentucky. There are some certain rules. It has to be 51% corn. It has to be done in new white oak barrels. There's a couple of the proof that goes in, the proof, all of that. There's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
But one of the rules is not that it has to be in Kentucky.
Just made in America.
Correct.
So bourbon is a true American spirit.
Yep.
Much like tequila comes from a certain region of Mexico.
Yep.
True champagne comes from the Champagne region of France.
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon must only come from the United States.
And 51% corn.
And about
Distilled under 160 proof, barreled under.
Oh, there's
95
other things
proof.
to right.
Bottled over 80
Get into the
proof.
whole
I think
thing.
I think
no
it's 7 or
artificial,
8. Yeah.
No artificial colors or flavors added, and yes, made in America. So it is a truly, American spirit.
Which
That
is
is really
which is
cool.
funny because there are companies that, well, MGP is not MGP anymore. It's called something else now. But there are companies right across the river in Louisville that was distilling for people, and then they would go and barrel it themselves. Smoke Wagon's a perfect example.
Oh,
Smoke
yeah.
Wagon out of Vegas is these guys that they don't want to distill, they want to age. And so they go to this company that's right there across the river from Louisville, and they get their juice, their liquid, and then they barrel it themselves. They're doing it in Vegas in the dry heat, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, Missouri's not a state that has Smoke Wagon, so I actually mule it back from California.
I have heard things about
I have
Smoke
a-
Wagon. I was not aware that it was an MGP product, though.
It's an MGP
so
product.
that
Absolutely.
makes me think even. You got to make your own juice, folks. Make your own juice. You got to make your own juice.
Did
All right.
you say they're aging it in the dry heat? Is that
Yeah,
what you
in
said?
Vegas. Yeah, it's actually not a bad price. It's a little
But that's
spicy.
That's going to be a huge difference between that and the humidity.
Van,
of
just come down to the
Missouri.
house. I got some at the house.
It
We'll
will,
go enjoy
yeah.
it.
And with the barrels out there, you're going to lose a little bit more. And but
Right.
the weather does make a big difference. The barometric pressure,
Right.
makes a big difference. There's so many variables that go into the flavor
And that was the thing about
profile.
Missouri. What is Missouri weather different than? I mean, I would think Missouri weather and Kentucky weather.
It's going to
pretty,
be very much
pretty
like
close,
it's going to
right?
be very much like Kentucky, yes.
Yeah.
But we've got the barrels, we've got the grains. Kentucky is not a corn state.
No,
they're importing.
no, they
their
get it from
corn.
Iowa and other places.
They're importing their barrels. What do they got? They got water.
Yeah, we got water.
Water makes bagels.
If you
Yeah.
if
We
you
got it
put
all.
if you build another off premises for storing your barrels,
Yeah.
will it be? Is it? It's not. I don't want to ask a stupid question. It's not climate controlled, correct?
The barrel house will not be. No.
Is it open air?
There will be some, yeah, because you want some air flow in the.
So I think one of the things that we're going to find now that at this craft level, especially with somebody who can really tweak it on their own, you're going to find the problem we have in Missouri compared to a lot of other states is that we can have winters that go to sub-zero freezing for 9 days straight, followed by 70 degrees. And so our roads have more problems here than Arkansas, and they have more problems than Minnesota because we're in a belt right here that goes through harsh extremes all winter long and then into the summer.
And that's a good thing for whiskey makers
That's
because,
what I'm
again,
wondering.
you have the temperatures that are going to, the barrel's going to swell up in the heat, suck product into the wood, and then it's going to contract when it gets cold and spit it back out. So you have this real slow movement of liquid going in and out of the staves, and that's going to be very beneficial. It's what, like Kentucky has found. They have
Right.
some of the same weather that we have. So I really think that once we get the rick houses built, the barrel barns built, we will have product very similar to what they have there in Kentucky.
Pretty cool.
But we're making our own juice.
No, I agree. I mean,
For those with the audio only,
Yeah.
Van is looking at the camera going, hey,
Yeah.
you make your own juice, right?
no, and I mean the reality is a lot of people don't know this, and I think over the last 5 or 6 years, it's become pretty common knowledge that MGP, which by the way is for those of you that are listening that know, MGP just changed their name to something else. I don't know, a month ago, but it was MGP for a long time, and they were basically, hey, we'll distill and then you go age. Well, so they're doing part
So
of the
you
product.
pick it up in a tanker, and then you have that dumped into barrels, close them up, and store them for 7 or 8 or 12 years.
Or they'll just ship you the barrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll put it in
they'll
barrels,
barrel
ship
it.
it to
They'll,
you.
they'll,
Yeah.
just, they'll just transfer it to you under bond.
Yep.
So it goes from their bonded space to your bonded space.
Yep.
And then a lot of people, they'll do that. And that's where a lot of people got started.
That's amazing.
They'll buy barrels, fill bottles,
Yep.
call it their own while they're getting their process
Correct.
put together.
And there's been a lot that have done that. Castle and Key has done that. There's a number of
there are
distilleries
yeah.
that have
And-
done
and-
that.
I believe
we-
making whiskey is like making love. You need to be involved in the act.
Dude,
The
I'm
whole
a-
act,
I'm-
not
I'm gonna-
not
I'm
just
pause.
no,
There
the
was a
whole
pause.
act, the
I'm
whole
gonna-
act,
I'm
not
gonna-
just the end. You need to be there from the beginning. You just can't come into the end and finish.
Ta-da!
That's another conversation to be off
That's
mic.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe the next
but yes, that's the way a lot of people got started. I chose not to. For me, it's an integrity thing, and I wanted to be able to say that I did it all myself. So we
Yeah.
start with the clear products. You start with the clear products. You start your barreling program. Once your barreling program or your barrels are ready, boom, you got some brown product. But we didn't bring in anything
Yeah.
outside of what we did for our whiskeys.
Now, do you think the pandemic helped you in a way? One, it helped you with obviously the hand sanitizer and all that.
It did, yeah.
But do you think it slowed things down enough that now you got some product that was aging a little longer?
That's
than,
exactly correct. Yes. Yeah, we have older whiskey now.
Right.
So we haven't had to crack the barrels because there hasn't been the demand for it. So it has been a nice
A
thing.
blessing
for
in
us.
disguise.
Yes, exactly.
Where do you
Yeah.
think? So this is really good at 2.5 or so.
Yeah, thanks.
Where do you think you're going to be with this particular? Let's say 4. How much difference do you think it's going to be? Another 1.5, 2 years down.
I'll go open the barrel and we'll find out. What do you say?
That's what I was trying to get to.
You want to be here.
Yeah, I know.
If I can go find the barrel,
Yeah, let's do that.
we've got.
Oh, that you've got a 4 out there. So it'd be
Yeah.
like, let's go.
If I
And
get
you
to it and
can-
crack it, I'll do it.
I'm just
for you
trying to get my
guys.
way in here to taste some bourbon, for
That's
God's
right.
sake.
No, wait,
Yeah.
You can open it and take a little sip and then put it back in,
That's
right?
what you gotta do.
Everything's fine.
You have to take
Yeah.
you have to take the bung out. There's the bung plug,
So
That's
that's
what
where
it's-
bunghole
what it's-
comes from?
what
That's
it's
where
called.
bunghole comes
Yeah.
from, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it comes
Yeah.
from your
I'm
barrel.
like a child
So
learning all these
your
things today.
bung is the little cap that goes on top of the barrel, and the hole is the bung hole.
Did you say front
Yes.
liquor or liquor? What did you say?
Liquor,
Well,
liquor
this is a
forward.
very forward alcohol liquor.
Yeah.
You're very much a behind liquor.
I don't know why, but I feel like that should
Yeah, that's a good way to end.
bring on our
Yeah, nice
close
job.
on that one. We had. Are you going to put bunghole liquor forward?
Liquor forward. Our cocktails
Yeah.
here are
They're very
You don't need to
liquor
explain it again.
forward.
You don't need to-
They're
I don't
boozy,
need to
man.
Yeah.
What are you going to put on this online? What are you going to describe?
I haven't gotten there yet. I'll figure it out.
Van Hawksby and DogMaster Distillery. Van, thank you so
No,
much.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
God, I learned a lot today. This is fun.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
About time.
And I'm going to drink some more right now.
You should.
When I can.
I know,
You're
right?
bringing me up to speed.
I'm trying. I've been trying for years.
What a hell of a job.
Here we go.
Have a sip.
This has been a podcast story. Tom's World Beer Tour. For future episodes, download and subscribe where you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart, and Amazon Music. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or send us an email at tomsworldbeertour@gmail.com. All content property of Tom's World Beer Tour, copyright 2021. No beer was harmed during this production. Only consumed.